Hi guys, Amanda coming to you live again from Celebration Title Group. And I have with me a special guest today. This is Becky with Proplogix. And
Hi.
excited to have her. And they're such an integral part of our team. And for many of you that might know, during a transaction, one piece of it that's super important, of course, is obtaining the lien search as well as the estoppel. And they are our key people doing this on the back end and making sure that everything's getting processed in time and through COVID. And they have been such an epitome of a company to look at that transitioned very quickly to make sure they were still servicing the real estate community. Anything under contract, we haven't seen any major hiccups. And they've been on the forefront of giving any information when it comes to municipalities that are closing or HOA management companies where we wouldn't be able to possibly obtain an estoppel. And so we really lean on them for that information, as well as some major town halls on remote online notarization, a ton of other things. So I wanted to have her here so she could kind of share with us what they did as a company and what they actually do for the real estate community. So Becky, just tell us, what does your operation look like right now, and how easily or how hard was it to really transition during this time?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Amanda. We love working with you guys, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here because just like you, we're trying to continue to communicate with the title industry to let them know that, business is still taking place as usual. Closings are still happening, and we're here to support every step of the way and even, try to come up with other solutions and new opportunities that will help streamline the future of the business, considering that this is really becoming a little bit of a new normal. And so you are correct. We are an operation that is currently running just as we were before this COVID pandemic hit. We have about 150 employees in our corporate office in Sarasota, Florida. And when all of this started happening, our operations president, Tim Healy, he worked for the United States Postal Service when anthrax was a big problem. And so he's experienced not the same thing, but a pandemic or issues in the past where you really just wanted to make sure you were keeping your employees safe. So he recognized this was going to be big long before a lot of other companies did. And within 36 hours, we had our entire staff working from home remotely. And prior to even this pandemic happening, we had already had a DR plan in place. So if there were any natural disasters, obviously in Florida, we experience a lot of hurricanes. You never know when something could potentially happen to your office, or something as simple as an office fire. And so we had every employee's name, knew what equipment they had at home and what equipment they could bring from the office, who was going to be able to start working right away. And we pretty much had already made sure that every single one of our employees would be set up. And so
I feel like you could sell that playbook right now, right?
Yeah, seriously.
For sure. I mean, there's a lot of people that would buy that.
Yes.
And that, there didn't feel like there was one, but having him go through all of that's amazing and super impressive.
Yeah, it really is. And what's crazy too is that I'm part of the leadership team for the company, and I agree it's completely important. But yes, it's crazy how fast we moved. Trust me, it was a bit of a free for all for those 36 hours. We have an amazing IT team, and we definitely had to teach our employees how to take down their own monitor stands and everything. And we're trusting all of our employees, obviously, to have office equipment in their own homes. We want to make sure that they're comfortable. People like me have taken our own chairs that are, ergonomic for your body. So we're
with a headset. I like
yes,
it.
the headset. I know I look like I'm from the space age here, but it is impressive. And, as a leader for the company, these are conversations that we're having when obviously there's not a problem. And so, he's adamant about it. And it's one of those things where at the time you're going, is this really a priority? You're like, oh, do we really need to put together this 20-page documentation right now for what we would do? God forbid if anything happened. But when it happens and you can move 150 employees in 36 hours, you're like, that's why we put all the work in ahead of time. So yeah, it was definitely good. But in terms of business, We have continued as usual. The one thing that's been bottlenecking the process is just if a municipality is closed down. But really, as in the beginning, it was very much so like the Miami, Broward, Fort Lauderdale area, Boca, and a lot of them have opened back up partially. But we do have, I know you mentioned you'd share the link. We've right away created a spreadsheet where we were able to share municipality closures. So, all of our agents could at least set expectations for their customers if they needed to delay a closing or put contingencies in place for moving forward aside from this piece of information. We can give partial reports if it's just a utilities company shut down or whatever it may be. So we're doing everything we can to provide information. And it's surprising. In terms of business in Florida specifically, we have a team dedicated to Florida lien searches. And I'd say for the past couple of weeks, they've really been working overtime. So there's still closings happening. And I know you can speak to this, but people were trying to, any deals that they had on the table, they were trying to rush to close. I'm sure everybody listening experienced the same thing.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So for our viewers, and really, we probably have some that are very new in real estate or maybe haven't purchased a home yet. Kind of give them a rundown of what a lien search company does. But, when you say municipalities, many people are like, what does that mean? And we had this conversation the other day, but I have to bring it up because it's so funny when I think of municipalities, like you and I, you think of like an old office,
Yes.
That's like the utility company. Is like, how are they so virtual and online already? And how have you guys still been able to operate?
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, to your comment, there are a lot of aspects of this industry. I think everybody can agree that are old and antiquated. And there are a few municipality offices that are run by one person who also has a full-time job otherwise. And so they're only available from their home within the hours of like 2 to 4 in the afternoon. And it's impossible, some HOAs and property managers, we experience things like that. But for the most part, a lot of people have gotten information online. We've worked with some of the municipalities that we've been partnered with for years to ensure that they're getting accurate information online so we can serve our customers better and faster. And so that's when we talk about solutions and what we can do, that's what we've been doing the past month and a half, is just coming up with ways that we can ensure to still serve our clients with the information they need. So in terms of a municipal lien search, that's a term that's used in Florida, but a product that is or a service that is necessary and needed nationwide. So here in Florida, as you guys all know, you do your title searches and you're pulling anything that's recorded in the clerk of courts. And so anything that's already been recorded will show up, but there's a lot of things that are unrecorded that are either still pending or they haven't turned into an official lien yet on the property. And those types of things won't show up on a title search because they're still in existence or maybe still accruing fines daily, and they haven't been recorded. And so this was something when our company first began, it was actually because of the effects of 2008 and the industry as it stood, because there were a lot of homes that had foreclosed. So a lot of these outstanding issues existed, and they were finding, that it was very common to have people coming back and making title claims essentially for these unrecorded issues that weren't told to them. And of course, in Schedule B2, they were written as an exception. You just don't think of it or don't know of it at the time. The underwriters were covered and the title agents essentially weren't liable because it was written up in the contract. But of course, you want to be as transparent as possible in protecting your clients. So when this first came about, it wasn't a regulation by the state in Florida to pull this information, and now it is. And so it's utilities, any outstanding utility bills that haven't been paid, and of course, a lot of people like buyers and sellers who aren't in this industry. And I can speak for myself. 2 years ago, before I came in, you wouldn't think something like an unpaid bill would be the responsibility of a new owner in a house. You would think that that stayed with the person who didn't pay it. But in Florida, in particular, and in most states, those fees and those liabilities stay with the property. So it's utilities, it's any code enforcement violations, any open or expired permits. We're now checking for fire and vacant property reports. So there's all kinds of information that come out of what we would consider a municipality, where we're calling on all of these governing authorities to get that information prior to closing and supporting the title agents to make sure that if there is a problem, they can resolve that before closing takes place to protect their clients.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys play a key role in the closing process. And I think a lot of people, real estate agents, clients, whomever, don't realize how many municipalities are part of one property. So you're like, yes, we know.
Yes, hundreds. You wouldn't believe how many municipalities exist.
Right. So the lien search is super key and is a piece of the transaction that we definitely need in order to close. But I love how you guys have shifted and been able to work from home and still stay in diligent contact with those municipalities to make sure that lien search is here in time for closing. And then you also do Estoppel requests too.
Yeah.
So it's something that takes a lot of pressure and time off of the transaction and the closing agent, and you guys will actually request Estoppel letters and things like that. So tell us, have you run into any hiccups or anything with HOAs not being available or management companies, and anything we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah. So, we're really trying to streamline the process and automate the process. I can actually say that in certain cases, so municipal lien searches used to be something that a lot of people would do in-house, and it was almost taboo years ago to outsource that because they could utilize their own employees and staff to do it. But now, more so than ever, people are protecting against, fraud attempts, and they're working remotely and they're trying to work on closings. They have more refinance business coming their way. And so for years, a lot of companies have been outsourcing their municipal lien searches, but not necessarily their estoppels. And right now, more so than ever, it is like efficiency and time is of the importance. Even though a lot of this is happening, it doesn't mean that title agencies aren't as busy. And so we have been getting business. Originally, when everything started happening, we were seeing a lot of cancellations for estoppel requests that we had, which was higher than normal. And that's purely because there were people initially when this happened that were just backing out of deals that didn't, there were some deals that were falling apart. But we've seen, I think you and I were talking about this the other day, where our business was very stable, and then we did see a little bit of a dip, and now it's picking right back up. And so it's not to say that the industry is back to normal, but one of the things that we did recognize too is that there were a lot of title agencies or larger national companies that were using outsourced teams in third world countries like India, for instance, and a lot of those outsourced operations shut down. So people were really looking for another partner and a vendor to lean on. And we, because of our operation and the amount of employees that we have and the way that we've set ourselves up to be scalable, we were able to take on a lot more business that we hadn't been before to help support some of those customers that were outsourcing to India. And so, and even now I know some of those operations have picked back up, and the people who have used us are actually sticking with us because we were able to give them, because we do tax certificates, we do for other states, we do estoppels and municipal lien searches, like you said. We also do payoff tracking, which is the post-closing recording. We do curative work prior, if we need to solve problems for people. So we've expanded our offering, and even in this time, we continue to think of new products like payoff letters that customers have requested, just because if we can help build efficiencies for their teams to concentrate on closings, then we'll introduce the product if it makes sense and do everything we can to support them. So it's been fun. And, as a marketing team, like you said, we've just wanted to be continuously updating our clients and keeping them as part of the conversation. We've had things from, utilizing video and just getting people used to these technologies that they've never had to learn before, Ron updates and, coaching and leading through a crisis. We had Cindy McGovern and Ed on the other day, and I know they're great. So there's just a lot of conversation going around. And I think people are recognizing that everyone's learning and utilizing these tools that probably would have come to fruition maybe in 10 years from now. And we've had to expedite the process very quickly here. So
Yeah. Well, I love that because, and the reason that I really connect and resonate with your company is that, yeah, the Lien Searches and the Estoppels are what you do, but it's not really like who you are.
Yeah.
You really want to be a resource to your agents and make sure that you're providing the best amount of information. And you don't even talk, it's like very similar to us where I never talk about title insurance. And
Yeah.
like, you don't want to hear about it. You just, it's very boring. But let's talk about coaching and let's talk about like mentorship and all this other stuff. So I love that you don't really aren't defined by your product. You guys are so much more than that and such a huge support. So the last question really is there anything that you can leave the real estate community, any tools or resources that you think, in order to stay up to date, even with whether it be virtual showings or how do they get into your town halls to listen?
Yeah, so we have a link we can share after the fact of all of our town halls that are happening, and we continue to do that. We actually we know that a lot of these underwriter events that are typically held or national trade shows and conferences are being canceled, and so we do have an in-house educator that's able to offer CE and CLE credits in the state of Florida. We've got 4 or 5 different courses. So next week, we're going to offer one on release tracking and curative services. We've already got over 250 agents signed up, which is amazing. And we can take as many that will come. So we're starting to offer virtual webinars because to your point, yes, we are a service provider and we're a vendor, but we truly do care about our clients. And at this time, it's like, what can we do to help? We know that they might not even have the business to give us that they used to, but what can we do to help them through this time so they can stay in business or they can build or, scale in the future? But from a positive note, like I said, our business is already seeing an uptick again, and we've talked to realtors, and we do actually have a course available, a 2-hour course to offer realtors as well. So we partner with title agencies if they want to take advantage of being that resource to their realtors to offer them credits as well. So that's a conversation we're willing to have. We've got an education page on our website. I can send you that link as well after the fact for all these CE and CLE courses. But we've talked to realtors and they're still showing. We talked to some in Pennsylvania where there was a complete shutdown, and in Washington, how their business was affected because they didn't dub real estate an essential business for the first couple of weeks there, and they're coming back from it. But, we really do have high hopes that people are going to come out of this. A lot of people are already making investments and they're going to want to, people are going to continue to need to buy and sell homes. And realtors are coping with it, doing virtual tours. We know of a couple of listings right in our local area that have continued to sell off of virtual tours, having never seen the home. And so there's still a lot of business happening, and it's up and down depending on who you talk to. But the majority of people that we've spoke to, clients and agents and real estate attorneys, pretty much everyone is saying that they're actually seeing an uptick in business and they're still busy as usual. I mean, this, as you know, would have been season. So maybe not as crazy as it was ramping up to be, but stable. So it's good.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your support so much and all that you do for the real estate community. And I'm going to have you put all your information that we talked about in the comments here. So if anyone has any questions for you, they can out, but keep doing what you're doing. I love the positive energy and the marketing and everything you're doing to support everyone. So thank you so much for your time today. Okay.
Thank you so much. We love working with you guys. All right.